Okay, I am back for more. I actually decided not to go out and get some breakfast. Um, really, the only reason I was going to go out was just to see my crush and see if she was working, and I don't really need to do that. I just don't want to do that. I guess that's all I have to say about that. Um, Also, I wanted to say before we move on to the middle row is just how genuinely, sorry, I got emotional, how genuinely happy I am for you. I'm really inspired to see the changes and good fortune in your life. You really deserve them, and I'm just really pleased for you, more than I can really say. So keep on. You must be doing something right. So um, thank you for the inspiration. Okay. Seems like there was something else I was going to say. I don't know. I'm a little more awake than I was before. I was looking at the middle row, which represents the present, um, present circumstances, and past, present, and future, which in this row, as we've discussed, is the coffin, the crossroads, and the fish. And actually, what just struck me when I was looking at them in the little break I took to um, was that it actually reminds me of the story in the Gospel of Luke of the road to Emmaus, which I actually don't know if you've ever read the Gospels, and I'm not evangelizing to you. It's just struck me. In case you haven't read it, two disciples, Cleopas and an unnamed dude, are walking on the road to Emmaus talking about how Jesus was crucified and how they looked and his tomb was empty. And as they walk, this guy comes up to them and says, what are you talking about? And they tell him about the crucifixion, and the guy kind of gives them a hard time. The mysterious stranger. It's kind of a vanishing hitchhiker story, maybe one of the first. So eventually they say, well, come and walk with us, and we're going to go have some dinner. You can eat with us. And then when they go and eat, Jesus reveals that it's him, and they're like, oh, wow, hey, it's you. What are you doing here? And being Jesus is in the New Testament, he's not really a lovey-dovey kind of guy. He's kind of like Bob Dylan. He's kind of churlish and grumpy a lot of the time, especially with the disciples. He kind of gives them a hard time. He can be very compassionate and loving, but this image of him as being like this uber hippie is not the case. But anyway, he shows that he's been transformed. But that's what this reminds me of with the coffin and the road and the fish. And I'm not sure how that applies to you other than as a resurrection of your own life, of your story obviously not being over. And not that you thought that it was, but also that the future is not defined by the past. The past is actually dead and buried. And the future can be anything you want it to be. Ultimately, that's a lot of the message that I'm getting here from the crossroads and the stars. Stars was again with this blockage here that's really blocking your faith in yourself, and your ability to resurrect yourself in any form that you choose. When I say to you that I think the sky's the limit for you, I think that's true for everyone, but I think it's really true for you. That's not just blowing smoke up your ass, or just sometimes in our society we're rightfully suspicious of compliments and anything that seems like flattery. But we always shouldn't be, because genuinely, if you wrote to me and said, I'm going to go to culinary school, I decided that's what I want to do. Not that you would, that's just an example. I'd be like, yeah, I can see you doing that. Great. Or if you said, I think I'm going to become a molecular biologist, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can see you doing that. I'm going to go to Ibiza and become a DJ. Yeah, I can see you doing that. Let's go for it. I'm going to become a stockbroker. Okay, yeah, I can see you doing that. I'm going to go to law school. Yeah. My camera stuck again, so I had to start over. But the point I was making is that the message of the crossroads is that one of them is that you could do anything you set your mind to. I mean, like I was saying, if you wrote to me and said, Rashad and I are going off the grid and going to go live in a hut in Idaho, like, yeah, I can see you doing that. Great, or whatever. But also the sense of doing more than one thing, of synthesizing things. And you actually, you have, you and I believe, and I would like to flatter myself into thinking, are sort of the same in that I think we have a lot of interest and abilities. You have more artistic ability than I do in terms of drawing and writing, and probably a little more astute, well, definitely more astute financially and in practical matters than I am. But I think that both you and I sometimes have the tyranny of choice in our lives, where on the one hand, what I was just saying about you could be anything you want to be, that can be kind of overwhelming. Sort of like if you're in a store and you can have anything you want on this, going to Costco or Target and they say, take whatever you want. You might, or if you have a budget, you might be overwhelmed by the choices. I would definitely be overwhelmed. But whereas I can be a dabbler and a dilettante, and I'm kind of fine with that. I like doing a smorgasbord of things. You don't really strike me as a dabbler. Maybe in some things, but you don't really strike me as someone who just kind of flits. You seem to have some direction. But And that's okay. I think what it's saying is that it's ultimately all roads lead to the sea, so don't become overwhelmed by decision making, and that you can find a way to, and are finding a way to synthesize these things. And maybe I may move on to the bottom row. I believe that is the main thing I want to say. I'm going to rewatch all of this, and then I'll probably find a million things I want to need to say. So I'll add all of that later. So I will talk to you soon.